Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Freelancers Tea Break. My name is Emma Cossey. I'm your freelance coach and I'm here to keep company whilst you make a cuppa. And I'm going to talk today about donating your time or your services for free as a freelancer. And please stop doing it. Basically, this is going to be a gentle butt kicking. These are some of the ways that I see people donating free time too much as a freelancer. And it's got to stop, basically. For your sake, it needs to stop. So tell me which one of these, or nod along if these are yours. Long unpaid meetings. Okay, so this is quite common when you're working on a contract or a retainer. You might be asked to jump on a call, but if those calls are going like on for an hour, or you're expected to be in the office for them, and you're not being paid extra for them, please stop doing that. Charge for the time. It's absolutely okay to charge for that time. If you're on a contract and they want to have like an hour-long meeting with everybody, you can just say, absolutely fine, I will need to charge this, or I need to charge this, and travel expenses. Quite often, if you mention travel expenses, suddenly they're fine about you zooming in. So yeah, charge for meeting times, because that's still your time and your time that they are benefiting from. Also, providing really, and this is something I've been guilty of as well, providing really detailed solutions in the discovery call stage. So if somebody has a discovery call with you and you give them all the answers that they need, then why are they going to need to come back? It's okay to give them a few. And also I find the rule, tell them what, but not how. That's quite a useful one to go for. So if you want to give them some value, you can tell them what they might need to do, but the how is when they need to book in with you. And also this I've seen a couple of times, and I've had it a couple of times, multiple rounds of free consultation calls. So people who say they want to work with you, but they need to have another consultation call, and then another, and then another, and it never leads to work. Cut it off after like the second time. Sometimes I think there is, like, especially if there's space between the first and the second one, but after the second time, they can email you their questions. Even you might want to just cut it off after the first time and ask them to email your questions and you can come back. So what else? So when you get to the proposal stage, if you're doing that, really common ways that people give away too much for free are detailed project plans in the proposal so that they can just take it and run. Custom mock-ups or samples, again, they can just take it and run. And then multiple revision rounds on proposals can also be a bit of a red flag. It's fine if there's like a few, or you have to have a little chat or anything like that. But if you find it's going over weeks and you have to keep making multiple revisions, it's likely also that that client will be someone that isn't necessarily great at decision making and might be difficult going forward. And then we fall into scope creep acceptance. So these are the things that are kind of outside what was agreed, but quite often they're little things that build up. So we're talking, can you just tasks? Could you just do this? Or could you just do that? This will only take you a minute. They always say it'll only take you 5 minutes, but it's not just the 5 minutes that it might take you. And even if it was, it takes you 5 minutes because you're skilled and experienced and you're great at what you do, so you can do it quickly. But it's also the replying to the emails, they're responding to it, they're stopping what you were doing because you might have been working on something else. All those other things. There's also unlimited revisions. So this is where you don't cap how many revisions they can have for a project. It might be you've done some kind of graphic design and then they want to make some tweaks, but you might want to say there's 2 or 3 tweaks included or revisions allowed. After that, you will need to charge extra. So then you build it in. Otherwise, if you just say unlimited, you just open yourself up. And also it means that people can come back 6 months, 12 months down the line and want revisions that basically are not part of the original project. And just generally anything that is extra to the original scope. This is why we have contracts and project plans, so that we can see what's included. And if it isn't, it's absolutely fine to go back and say, I'll be more than happy to do this. This is outside the original scope that we agreed, so we may need to discuss revising that or updating the budget. These are all things that you can say, and it's absolutely fine to do that. Next thing is the free advice brain pickers type people. So this is where this is actually one of the hardest bits, because it can be really hard to slip into this kind of thing. So really long email responses or on social media as well, where essentially they are picking your brains without you realizing. And quite often you will get 2 or 3 questions in and then realize, actually, this is becoming a lot of free work that I'm doing. And I'm always one for people to ask me questions on socials and emails. I love that. But if I feel like it's going to something that's more in depth needed, is more in depth, then I would say, be happy to talk about this more. Here's my discovery call link, or why not book a power hour? That's what it's there for. The hardest ones with this is informal advice to friends and family. So this is totally up to you how you want to do this. But I have found occasionally there will be someone who will constantly come back and pick your brains for this sort of thing, especially if they're only picking your brains over this. Nah, we don't want that. That's too, you can then say, I'd love to help you on this. This is a service I offer. Here's the link. It's interesting how many of them actually then don't want to actually invest in that advice. And, it's family and friends. It can be really difficult, but also family and friends should support you. And therefore, I think it's totally okay to charge, but you don't have to. This one's a bit of a grey area, but if you find it's someone that isn't that close a friend and they just keep coming back and brain picking, switch them to a paid one. And then after that is like unpaid admin work. So if you are required to suddenly do a lot of excessive meeting preparation, you should be charging for that. And that's why people sometimes ask about like coaching prices and things like that. But it's not just the session itself. It's the prep I do beforehand. It's the coaching notes I provide afterwards. It might be the check-ins and things like that. It's never just the 1 hour that you're on the call. Detailed post-project reports. The reports should be something you charge for. They shouldn't be just a free or a bonus. And then extended, and this is the biggest one for me, extended and out of hours client communication. So if the client communication is way outside hours, so you're getting messages Friday evenings at the weekend and they're expecting you to come back, unacceptable. And I find if you charge a higher rate at the weekends, suddenly you don't get those as much, or they at least schedule them. And it's okay if they do contact you, as long as they don't expect you to come back out of those times. But also the clients that they require, they'll send you a 10-minute Voxer message and things like that. You need to work out whether that all adds up to a lot of extra time, because it's not just the time that they've recorded it, but the time that you have to listen back to it. Basically, the main thing I want to say is stop volunteering so much of your free time for clients. They are clients, they are paying for a service, and if the service that they're asking for or they're expecting is outside what was agreed, then you need to charge for it. And we need to be, I think, better as freelancers generally about setting these boundaries. And the more of us that do it, the more that becomes normalized behavior and something that clients expect. But when they deal with freelancers who are very happy to do loads of extras, and you end up being an employee then, basically, and one of these employees that does, can you just do this for the team, for the business, for the family, all this. Anyway, that is a massive tangent, but basically stop volunteering for free. That's pretty much it. It's a bit of a butt kicker this week. But hopefully, if you feel like you need it, now is a good time to set some boundaries in place. And I do have, I've just thought of this actually on the back of the podcast, so I'm just going to add it in. I haven't scripted it or anything. I don't script most of my podcasts, actually. The Tricky Clients bundle that I have has loads and loads of templates that you can deal with these kind of situations. And there is a template in there, I think, for scope creep. So it's well worth having a look in there, and also about communication creep and things like that. So feel free to have a look at that if you feel like you need a bit of extra support on it. I hope you have a wonderful freelance week.